He was known to police. He was participating in a de-radicalisation program. His access to the internet had been limited. So how does a teenager in Perth end up stabbing a man in an act police say has all the hallmarks of a terrorist attack?
After 2 years of trying,
we put every effort into changing their beliefs and getting them on a good pathway.
all attempts to de-radicalise a troubled young teen were undone in minutes.
The problem with individuals like this is they can act at short notice without warning and be very dangerous.
The 16-year-old shot dead by police outside a Bunnings in Perth's southern suburb of Willetton on Saturday night after he'd stabbed a man in the back and chased police armed with a knife.
The boy in question sent a text message to others. Many of those people then subsequently contacted the police.
Since the age of 14, the boy had been taking part in a countering violent extremism program.
We were obviously well aware of the thoughts that he was harbouring, and he was an active participant in that program.
The program draws on support from psychologists, the Department of Education and, where appropriate, faith leaders.
We are a great supporter of such programs, and such programs and initiatives are extremely important in regards to keeping our societies and our communities safe.
Across Australia, more than 140 people are currently taking part, but for this boy, it didn't work.
We're dealing with radicalised individuals. It's a tough thing to change their fundamental belief system. That is a hard challenge.
Stopping short of declaring the incident a terrorist attack, police believe the boy had mental health issues and had been radicalised online.
People can be pushed through the use of algorithms towards more extreme positions.
Since entering the program, the teen's internet access had been restricted.
The individual in question only has a very basic telephone.
But parents at the boy's school had recently raised concerns with police, fearing the teen may have been attempting to radicalise his classmates.
Given the red flags raised, why was this student able to be taught in a mainstream school?
Perth's Muslim community today fearful of a backlash.
What follows is that we see a rise in Islamophobic incidences. Once you're bombarded with this kind of misinformation, you have these presumptions about Muslims and about Islam, whereas nothing could be further from the truth.
So as the threat of terror is once again thrown into the spotlight, are we doing rehabilitation right?
Peter Lowe is a former director of Countering Violent Extremism in New South Wales Youth Justice. Peter, how do you de-radicalise someone?
It's a very complicated question and a very difficult task. Entirely possible, but it is challenging because everyone's journey into violent extremism is very different. They would be looking at what are the factors that are causing the risk for the young person, or some of the needs that that person might have that have led them into that sort of radicalised environment. And some of those things can be very separate from a set of beliefs or ideology. In fact, sometimes you might not be talking about beliefs at all. So it could be things like, do they feel like they belong as part of the community? And if not, how can we engage them in the community so they have a sense of connection with where they live and who they are? It could be around, are they able to actually work and earn money and contribute? Do they have an opportunity at life to be something, to do something with their lives? And so sometimes it's employment and education opportunities and supporting people to really engage in that. Because when we're working with people in this context, we're often working with people who have been really marginalised, who feel like they don't fit in and don't belong. And so it's really important to be engaging in those areas of their life where they can find a sense of community, where they can find a sense of belonging. It comes down to some really basic support sometimes.
Do you think overall we can actually say these programs work?
It's very difficult to manage change, especially when you're talking about what someone believes. How do we measure someone's belief, for example, to see if we've been successful? But there are measures for success, and we know that these programs do work because we've seen people engage in them and then go back to living what would be normal, healthy, happy social lives. There isn't a lot of evidence about it right now. There's a lot of reasons for that. So very few people attend these programs, which means our data set is quite low. And also, how long do we measure this until we say they're successful? Is 2 years of change success, or do we need to wait for 40 or 50 years of change? But there's certainly milestones and there's certainly indicators that suggest that the things that were contributing to someone being engaged in violent extremism before are not present in their lives right now. Much like anyone, though, those things change over time. It's very context specific.
Just a few weeks ago, Peter, we saw another teenager involved in an alleged terror incident in Sydney. There were terror raids that followed. Do you think we're seeing a bit of a surge at the moment?
I think we're definitely going to see more activity and identification of young people in this space. And that's simply because it's now being talked about a lot more and we're now looking into it. I don't think that there is necessarily a particular surge at this moment. I think that's been on the rise over the last few years, particularly in the online space and particularly considering some of the issues that are impacting our communities, our society and globally.
What sort of issues do you mean?
There's a lot of conflict in the world. There's a lot of polarisation going on in communities. There's a lot of polarising people. So I think young people are being caught in that because they are trying to form a view and a belief about things in the world that are, you know, to be honest, quite scary to them a lot of the time.
All right, Peter, thank you so much for your expertise tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.